On April 5th, 2010, at about 3:02 p.m., the worst mining disaster in the United States in 40 years ripped through the Upper Big Branch mine in Montcole, West Virginia. 29 men never came home. 2 crawled out of hell alive. And the truth, the real truth, is that this explosion wasn't an accident. It was engineered by years of ignored warnings, cut corners, fake safety practices, and silenced workers, and the leadership culture that treated compliance as a suggestion, not a duty. Today, we're breaking down exactly what happened underground and why this disaster was guaranteed long before the first spark ever hit methane. The Upper Big Branch mine was a high-production, longwall coal operation owned by Performance Coal Company, a subsidiary of Massey Energy. In 2009, the mine produced over 1.2 million tons of coal. Behind that number was intense pressure from corporate leadership. The longwall was running 7 days a week. Sections were overlapping shifts. And according to investigators, Massey's top executives were deeply involved in the day-to-day production decisions. Production came first. Safety was a box to check. But here's the key points. UBB wasn't designed for longwall mining. The tailgate entry they used wasn't built for this level of airflow demand. Right there, before anything exploded, the system was already stressed beyond intent. Let's talk about the mine's atmosphere. Coal dust, methane, water problems, roof issues, ventilation failures. These weren't occasional problems, they were constant. The mine had a history of gas inflow incidents in 97, 2003, and 2004. That's a giant warning sign in longwall operations. Investigators found excessive loose coal and float coal dust everywhere, inadequate rock dusting in major sections of the mine, chronic ventilation issues limiting airflow through the longwall tailgate. Think about that for a moment. Coal mines rely on airflow. If your ventilation can't dilute methane, can't cool hotspots, can't control dust, you're building an explosive environment one shift at a time. This wasn't a mine experiencing random problems. This was a mine cultivating fuel. Here's what happened the day the mine blew. April 4th was Easter Sunday. The mine was mostly idle. The midnight shift came in around 11 p.m., did preparations, and according to examination records, found no hazards. Really? That statement alone should raise eyebrows. By morning, crews on multiple sections were working the 1 North Longwall, Headgate 22, Tailgate 22, and the barrier section. Around 2:30 p.m., a group of miners was traveling out on man trips while the longwall crew continued cutting coal with the shear. At 3:02 p.m., the ignition happened. A spark, likely from the longwall shears, cutting bits contacting sandstone in a poorly ventilated area, ignited methane. This wasn't a small ignition. It instantly expanded into a methane explosion. And then into something far worse. The explosion traveled thousands of feet through multiple entries, driven by float coal dust that had been allowed to accumulate for days, weeks, and even months. Investigators traced the flame path using evidence of coked dust and heat damage, and it was enormous. This wasn't a localized blast. This was a mine-wide detonation. The shockwave killed and scattered miners across the longwall, headgate, and tailgate entries. It destroyed equipment, blew out ventilation controls, and displaced massive volumes of dust. And it all happened in seconds. Right after the explosion, chaos hit the surface. Ventilation fans spiked. Communication went dead. Above ground, supervisors realized something catastrophic had just happened. Rescue teams entered a mine filled with CO, smoke, dust, debris, and no visibility. Exploration had to be paused repeatedly due to elevated carbon monoxide, hot spots, roof instability, flooded entries. It took days to locate all the victims, weeks to safely map the mine, and months before the underground investigation could even begin due to lethal atmospheric conditions. Inside, they found bodies where the pressure hit hardest and signs that some miners made last desperate attempts to survive. The human cost of this explosion was immense and totally preventable. MSHA didn't mince words in their final report. They concluded that the explosion was caused by methane ignition at the shear methane buildup due to poor roof control and limited airflow, coal dust accumulations throughout the tailgate entries, inadequate rock dusting, a culture of intimidation that silenced miners, failure to conduct or record required examinations, advanced notice of inspections, improper maintenance of the longwall shearer, inadequate training. All of this is documented in the report's conclusion. Let me translate that for leaders today. This mine wasn't unlucky. This mine wasn't surprised. This mine wasn't caught off guard by a sudden spark. This mine was primed to explode because leadership prioritized production over every safety system designed to keep miners alive. One of the most damning findings was the culture of intimidation at UBB. Miners said they were discouraged from reporting hazards. Some were threatened if they slowed production. Examiners routinely failed to document obvious dangers in their books. And Massey's leadership, they micromanaged production but ignored ventilation issues, dust issues, training failures, and repeated methane events. The message was clear. Move coal, shut up, and don't slow us down. This wasn't a culture problem. It was a leadership failure, top to bottom. What happened at Upper Big Branch wasn't caused by one mistake. It was caused by thousands of small ones that piled up and were ignored. If you're a leader in any high-risk environment, here's the hard truth. You don't rise to the level of your safety program. You fall to the level of your culture. UBB had bad ventilation, uncontrolled methane, dangerous dust, poor examinations, intimidation, inadequate training, faked compliance, and 29 miners died because everyone assumed it'll be fine. If you don't measure, if you don't enforce, if you don't listen, if you don't fix the little things, then one day your operation won't get lucky either. This explosion was preventable. In cases like this, every disaster is preventable. When people have the courage to speak and leaders have the courage to listen. Okay, let's talk about the aftermath of the Upper Big Branch mine explosion. Massey's Energy Consequences Acquisition. That's a lot of words in one. I should have really looked at this. Anyway, Massey Energy was acquired by Alpha Natural Resources in 2011 for $7.1 billion. Legal penalties: the Mine Safety and Health Administration, MSHA, issued 369 citations against Massey, resulting in $10.8 million in penalties for safety violations. Criminal charges were old Donnie Blankenship, the former CEO of Massey, was convicted in 2015 for conspiring to willfully violate safety standards. He received a 1-year prison sentence and a $250,000 fine. Want to know something that might just make you really pissed off besides the 1 year and $250,000 fine? Old Donnie Boy Blankenship received a deferred compensation package just a few months before this, valued at $27.2 million. That's approximately $39 million here at the end of 2025, at the time of this video. kind of puts the $250,000 fine in a bit of a different light, right? In my opinion, it's disgusting. Anyway, moving on. Performance Coal Company operational status. Performance Coal Company, a subsidiary of Massey Energy, was directly involved in the disaster. Following the explosion, it faced significant scrutiny and legal challenges. Safety violations were prior to the explosion. The company had a history of safety violations with over 1,300 citations in the years leading up to the disaster. This pattern of negligence contributed to the explosion and subsequent investigations. Regulatory changes increased oversight. The disaster prompted calls for stricter safety regulations in the mining industry. Investigations highlighted failures in both Massey's practices and the oversight by regulatory bodies. Public response: the explosion led to widespread public outcry and demands for reform in the mine safety laws. Although significant legislative changes have been slow to materialize, the Upper Big Branch mine disaster remains a pivotal event in U.S. mining history, highlighting the critical need for improved safety standards and corporate accountability. As I close out, I would like you to honor these 29 men with action, not sympathy, because safety doesn't fail all at once. It fails one ignored warning at a time.